being here today. Welcome to our June seminar, Truth About Aging and Mental Health. Can you all hear me okay, for starters? Good? Okay. I'm StephanieParson, and I'll tell you a little bit about me real quick. So I am a full-time real estate broker, and here today are a couple of helper teammates, which Kim is in the back, Claire's over here, and we're missing Sharon today. She's having a medical test. She's also, in her 60s, like me and a lot of you others. If you need anything, feel free to grab one of us, okay? So my team has over 50 years combined experience in real estate. We specialize in working with seniors, and we also provide downsizing assistance for those needing extra help to make a move. The Senior Empowerment True Series was born because I saw firsthand seniors needing extra guidance and good resources for people who will be honest and not take advantage of seniors in those late in life decisions. Okay, so that's how this got started. So how many first-time attendees do we have today? Okay, quite a few. Welcome. Glad to see you here. So real quick, I'll give you a rundown of what this looks like, and then we'll get started. So we'll run from 10 to 11, 11:15 with questions that I will pose towards our two expert panelists here today. After that, it's at about no later than like 11:15. I like to open it up for questions at that time. So if while we're talking you think of a question, we've given you pieces of paper to write it down so you don't forget it. I know if it were me, I would forget it. So write it down and we will have time for open questions. We kind of have a no selling policy here. So all the panelists that we have usually come from an organization or a business that specializes in working with seniors. So they do have information that is available to pick up after the seminar if you're so inclined to pick it up. They'll also be sticking around hopefully for a few minutes after the seminar if you don't have an opportunity to ask your particular question. And again, we thank you guys for being here today and offering your valuable time. So you'll notice that some people have notebooks. We started giving those out for regular attendees. If you would like one and you don't have one, you can let Kim know in the back and we can have one for you next time. That has our schedule of our events. There's a place for you to put business cards in there, and the sheets are hole punched for you to put in there. So hopefully you'll find those handy. Everyone should have like an orange or goldenrod sheet there. We ask for your feedback. Some of you who come regular, you're probably like, they're asking every time, it's redundant. But we look at all of them, so we appreciate your comments. And I know we had one gentleman that mentioned that in viewing on the website, there was one particular video that they couldn't see the slides. So we're able to know about that and try to correct it on future ones. So thank you. So again, welcome to our seminar, The Truth About Aging and Mental Health. So we're happy to see you here today. So aging. Tell me, how many of you remember going through this experience before? So we're a group of baby boomers and silent generation, and we're all facing unique issues as seniors and or caregivers of a senior. So aging, it can be confusing and emotionally a whirlwind. Do you agree? Yes. So questions like, do physical issues impact your mental health? Are you worried or preoccupied when thinking of your own mortality? Is your mental health impacting your emotions? Maybe sadness, loneliness, grief, stress, anxiety, and vice versa? Is this normal, or can it be something more serious, like a true mental illness? How and where do you start to tackle these issues for yourself or a loved one? So today we have two expert panelists to talk with us. So we have Chin here and Emily. And guys, if you want to come on up, and we'll have you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about. Hey, welcome guys. Thanks again for being here. Okay. So you'll need to flip that on. Okay. Hello. Okay, good. So Chin, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you're here today.
Well, you can hear me okay? Okay, good. So, okay. So,
I don't
no?
write something.
No.
Well, actually, let me just talk like this. Can you hear me okay?
No.
No?
Kim, I don't think mine's working.
Okay,
There we
okay.
go.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So, thank you, Stephanie. So my name is Chen. Just in case it's hard for you to remember, Chen like Chen. All right. Okay. Good. You will get my business cards later, and then the spelling is different. However, it is Chen. Okay. So so I've been in this industry, this field, including mental health, including long-term care, substance usage, and homelessness for probably 20 years now. And I have a background of master's in social work from WashU, and then I have my second master's degree in gerontology. Now, that's not really that big a thing for me. The biggest thing for me that you will see on my business card, there's another credential that's called RYT. It's Registered Yoga Teacher. Okay, so now, next time, when Stephanie invites me back, if I'm doing well today, next time I'm going to teach yoga. Okay, so and then there are other experiences, other things that I've done in the past 20-something years that I've been in the United States. 22 years ago, I moved from Taiwan to the United States to go to WashU, and now it is 22 years later. Okay, and then any questions? We can certainly have a discussion later. Thank you.
Well, thanks for sticking around to our area. And currently, and how we met was with you being with Voice.
Yes.
I've asked several people in the past, are they familiar with Voice, the organization? And they've said no.
Okay, so another opportunity for me to talk about my organization, Voice. So now, Stephanie talked about, well, we are not selling anything, right? Okay, I cannot sell anything to you, okay, except for if you want to come to my yoga class, then they will charge you. But aside from that, my program Voice, VOYCE, Voice, it is, the original name is called the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Now, all of you guys, have you heard of the term or the word ombudsman? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Thank you. Because a lot of times when I told people that the ombudsman, then they think, well, either one, I made up that word, right? Or two, well, that is your accent. That's why you did not say that right. Okay? No, that's fine. Yeah, ombudsman. So what is ombudsman? Ombudsman is a federal program that is, of course, funded by the federal government since 1965. Missouri did not have its ombudsman program until 1979. And ombudsman is to advocate for residents that live in long-term care facilities, such as, for example, nursing homes, such as, for example, assisted living, memory care, okay? So I know that today I'm here to talk about mental health. However, if you have any questions, any complaints, any issues about nursing homes that your neighbors, your friends, your loved ones are at, then feel free to call my office, and then I will assign a staff member helping you guys. Okay. Now that said, so the long-term care ombudsman program. Again, it is federally funded. It is a federally mandated program in every and each state in the nation. So for Missouri's ombudsman program, we've been here since 40-something years ago, and then eventually 2012, which is 12 years ago, we rebranded ourselves. So we became this organization called VOICE, V-O-Y-C-E. And that is that we want to be able to be the voice of aging population. We want to be able to help and advocate for older adults, especially for adults that live in long-term care facilities. So in our territory, which includes St. Charles County, our territory, my program oversees total 21 counties, plus that is about 350-ish, 375 long-term care facilities that we oversee. So now I've been in this position as the program director since 2016. So I've seen, a little bit of issues here. Okay.
And we met because you do public speaking on all different things senior related. So that's how you met in the past.
Yes. Anything aging related, how to navigate your journey finding a long-term care facility. But then even before that, how do I take care of grandma? Because grandma is in her own apartment, own condo, and she just doesn't want to move while she cannot remember anything. And then she took a fall last night, and then 8 hours later we found her on the floor. That kind of thing. So navigate through this entire very challenging journey,
right.
And that's what I do.
And you guys have a helpline for all different kinds of resources.
That's correct. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah. So if you want to write down that helpline, I'm going to give that to you. It is 314-919-2403. And I'm going to repeat. 314-919-2403. So anything aging related, anything long-term care resources related, please give us a call, and it is free because again we are funded through federal government. We cannot charge you. However, for every phone call we receive, we get to charge the county $18. So please, we are a non-profit, so please help us make money.
Okay, thanks, Jen. All right. She has her own, if it's working. So Emily?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, sorry about that. Surprise, it works! So my name is Emily. I am a registered nurse, and I work at Heartland Hospice. So I've actually been in the hospital systems the last 10 years, and recently switched to Heartland. As you know, hospice is a calling. It's not a job. So you go when it's your time. And so I recently have started with Heartland Hospice, but we're here today to kind of talk about more of my hospital experience and dealing with mental health and aging. My experience is mostly with cardiac and stroke patients on the acute side, and then also in inpatient rehabilitation. So seeing and walking with caregivers and with patients as they deal with new diagnosis and how are they feeling and how to help them understand those types of things. But I really love being a nurse. I really love education, which is why this role was really appealing to me. And Stephanie, we met at my first senior resource fair. She was so welcoming to me, and she was like, "Do you know anybody?" And I was like, "Oh, I know all about that. Can I come? Can I come play?" So thanks for having me. I'm super duper excited to be here today. Heartland, we're based in Wentzville. We do have offices all over the Midwest. I think the office in Wentzville has been there for about 22 years. It's been around. It started as a family company, but we just help people age in place, age at home, and obviously hospice care. So if you have any questions about that, otherwise I do have some information here about volunteering in the back, and we can talk about that later.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so Emily, if you had to define your observation of mental health and aging, what would you say about it?
I think as someone who's worked in the acute area in the hospital, I would summarize it in one word, and that would be with the word loss. A lot of times, patients and caregivers are hearing a diagnosis for the very first time, and so they begin to grieve and go through the grieving process immediately, starting with denial. And so my experience with mental health a lot is dealing with that.
With the loss of things and grief.
Yeah, so like the loss of your independence, if you have a new diagnosis of a stroke, and say like one side of your body is no longer functional, a loss of independence, you have, you're unable to live at home by yourself anymore. As a caregiver, you're not able to have as much freedom as you did, loss of financial stability, loss of income, just lots of different types of loss, because there's so much change, and it does kind of grow.
Okay. So one of the things that we talked about, Emily, that about grief, that it's highly individualized process. There's no right or wrong way, but it's essential for individuals to allow themselves to experience it, express their emotions in their own time and in their own way.
Yes, I would absolutely agree with that. I think as a caregiver, especially recognizing that you also are grieving is very important. Because not only is the patient going through and having denial about so in the hospital, you get the new diagnosis, right? So the first thing you say to yourself is, no, this can't be happening. You didn't actually just say that, did you? So then I have to be the bad guy and say it again, right? And that does happen, but it's, as individuals, as the patient and as the caregiver, there's no way she just said that, right? It takes a while to process. The next step of grieving is anger. So if you're in a hospital still, which most patients, if they continue on to inpatient rehab or go to long-term care, you're going to see anger. And with a new diagnosis, with changes, that presents itself in different ways. I don't know if you've heard this term before. My grandfather was a swinger, as in he would punch the nurses because he would get angry with his new diagnosis of dementia, and he would just get really upset and take it out, and that's not uncommon. But as healthcare professionals, we understand that that's a part of grieving. It's a part of the grieving process is that people get angry. They don't understand why this is happening to them. And even as caregivers, it can present in a way where you're calling your social worker, you're calling your nurse supervisor, and you're complaining about things that maybe normally wouldn't bother you, but for some reason it's driving you crazy. Why is this driving you crazy? It's because you're angry. As you're processing this new diagnosis, again, as professionals, we recognize that you are grieving this new diagnosis, this new major change in your life. And not, that's why we call it this stages of grief, is so you can recognize where you're at in your mental health in this process of grieving, and you can understand that it's okay that you're angry, and that we as healthcare professionals, we're not going to hold that against you at all. We understand that you're angry because of this new information. Bargaining is the next one. Did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask at this point, like, so what are some common losses that seniors typically grieve about? Either one.
Oh, okay. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we grieving about? So, well, let's just get this out of the way. Aging sucks. Okay, that's the fact, right? And I'm gonna tell you. Well, I'm actually gonna tell you this to make you depressed at first, and then I'm gonna give you a little bit of hope. How about that? So, well, when we were born, we can remember, right? 40, 50, 60 years ago, maybe? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, right? So, when we were born, we started learning that, oh, we got our parents, mother, father, and we got other people in our family. We gradually we learn how to talk, we learn how to walk, we learn how to run, and all of those things, right? And then we gradually go to school, we got friends, and then we learn more skills, and then we now have our own network, and then all of that until we become an adult. And then we make money, and then we got married, we got wife, we got kids, we got husband, we got kids, and whatever. Okay, so all of those. Did you realize that what I just described, this process, this journey of growing, you just keep getting things, family, friendships, skill sets, learning more languages, learning more stuff. You got experiences. You got work. You got you got to travel to all different countries. Yes.
Keep expanding.
Yes.
Growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you know where I'm going, right? So once you start to age, what happens? What happens? So well, you first of all, your kids, they all are grown, and they move out. They are independent. Wow, that's a good way to put it, right? They just leave you. That's what that is, right? And then well, then you retire. Didn't we retire? Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to put it. They don't want us anymore, so we retire, right? And then gradually, well, our kids, for whatever reason, they come back to us. They say, well, Mom, Dad, you cannot drive anymore. I'm like, over my dead body. What do you mean? Who are you to tell me not to drive? Well, you just hit 3 lamp poles, so no, you cannot drive anymore. And now they are taking away my job. They are taking away my car. They are actually yes. So and then they took away my house because, well, I have to downsize because I cannot handle the huge house anymore. And then they have to move me into what? A condo. What the is that? A condo, an apartment. And now they are moving me into an assisted living. And eventually, well, guess what? When my money is spent down, I have to be on Medicaid. And then I have to move into a Medicaid facility. I have to share my room with someone.
This is really depressing.
I know, right? So I told you, aging sucks. So the entire journey. When you are growing up as a kid, you gained a lot. You got a lot of things. You learned a lot. There's a lot of things that for you to actually be able to explore, to expand. Your world is large. When you are getting older, you are losing gradually your friendships because they are dying, your house, your car, and eventually, guess what? Your mobility, your physical health, and even your mental health. The last thing you lose, what is that?
Your mind.
Yes. And then we're dead, right? So that's not fun to talk about.
No.
Okay. So grieving, hence grieving.
Yeah. And so bringing it back, so we're talking about grief and denial. You gave the example of kids telling their parents, you can't drive anymore, okay? And so they're in denial. I'm fine. I drive fine, okay? And then there's the bargaining that comes in after that, like, okay, I'll just drive.
Bargaining. I'll just drive to the grocery store. I'll be okay, I promise. If you could just let me have the keys on Sundays.
Yeah. So these are kind of the steps of grief. So denial, bargaining, acceptance, anger, and depression. So I would like to maybe, Emily, can you give us a real life example of what grief has looked like for an individual and a caregiver? You shared kind of a story with me, or not really a story, but the couple that had the right heart stroke. I forget the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is it's based on a true story. So I had a young couple, we'll call them, that were newlyweds, and the husband had a major stroke. It was the whole right side of his body no longer worked, and so he could not drive a car. He could not write with a pen. He could not cook. He could not walk. He was now wheelchair bound. And his bride, we'll call her, this was not what she expected. They retired. They were ready to travel, to go visit the world together. They had this huge plan, right? It was going to be awesome. And so when they come to the rehab hospital, they are talking about this plan, and they're so excited. Neither one of them addressing the elephant in the room. So this is denial. Anger's the next step. So the patient again begins to act out towards staff members. As staff, like I said before, we recognize that this is part of the grieving process, and so we don't take it personally. That's okay. The wife, again, maybe is having some issues. She starts to get angry at him, like, why don't you just pick up your fork? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? And it's because she's angry, right? And sitting down with her and talking to her and helping her recognize that these feelings are okay is what we do. Bargaining, if I could just, let's see what if I could turn back time. That's right. If I had only had better habits, is what the patient kept saying. And the bride said, oh, if I had only chosen not to marry him, why did I ever marry this guy? Right? And she didn't say that to him, she said to me, oh, well, I'm so sorry you feel that way, ma'am. What am I supposed to say?
So what is the patient, what is he thinking?
Once they kind of reach the bargaining stage, they're getting to the point of acceptance. They're getting closer to their journey. They've possibly been in rehab for a couple weeks, and they're figuring out that this might be it. This might be the new normal, and facing that loss of this is the new normal for me is really difficult for them. But listening to them about what if I did another one of therapy? What if I did this, and what are my options, and trying to help him understand that even if he does do that, things may not change. Depression tends to follow. So for the caregiver, the bride, she stops visiting. She stops coming because she doesn't know what to say anymore. Things aren't changing, things aren't getting better. For the patient, he withdraws. He stops socializing with the staff. He stops calling the wife. And eventually, here's the good side, as they both reach the point of acceptance, she comes back and they have a loving reunion, and they downsize and go to an assisted living together where they can both have the care that they need. So I think that even while you go through loss, it's good to enjoy the moment while you can. Not every day is a good day, but there's good things in every day.
So we've talked, I know, a lot about, what do we talk about in this mental health? Because I had specifically asked to have this subject. I've shared with you guys in past seminars about my experience with my parents, which the mental health thing has been really difficult, in particular with my mom most recently. And I'll tell you, she went to acceptance that I'm old, I'm just going to go to skilled nursing, my life is over, and it wasn't. And so I got angry with her, and then I started negotiating with her and saying, no, that is not the case. And then it went to, are you in depression? What is it, depression? Is it because you are physically declining? It's been a very difficult learning experience for me. And I only have one set of parents. So to not get it right is really hard to deal with. So I just wanted to bring some light to people about, what's normal, what's not, what leads to these things, and we're all with aging. We've never been where we're at before, so we are all experiencing loss, which then you can experience grief. So Chin, can you give us a common real-life scenario that you might think seniors have experienced?
Sure. So, okay, I wrote down this little kind of story, and I'm going to just read it to you, okay? So, of course, it comes from a female perspective. A wife, maybe. So, am I crazy or what? I've been taking care of my husband. He has Alzheimer's. I have to do everything for him. Cannot leave him unattended for just a single second. I find myself getting irritated and angry easily. I don't want to admit to our kids. I didn't want to tell them that I was stressed out. But I'm just more and more anxious and forgetful every single day. So the other night, I found my car keys in the fridge, which I was looking for all over the place all day long. They said, I'm depressed. But guess what? I don't feel sad. That cannot be depression because I don't feel sad, right? I'm pissed off. I don't think it's fair. And I'm terrified when I think about what if I have dementia myself.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yes.
Has anybody experienced
Raise our hands here.
Okay.
The Alzheimer's group here.
Yes. So, and I think that even if you haven't been a caregiver, that we're all experiencing, because as we age, unfortunately, we are losing certain things. So let's start with the "Am I crazy or what?" question.
Awesome. Yes, we are crazy. So here's something that I wanted to kind of talk about. So earlier, aging. Is it normal to have dementia? Or let's rephrase it. Is dementia a normal or frequently encountered aging process? Is it? Yes? No? The answer is no. So dementia is not something that is considered normal. Okay? So We all age. We all age. However, it doesn't mean that every one of us, we are going to experience dementia. No. Okay? Well, let's start with this.
So how do you figure it out?
Yes.
Am I crazy?
Exactly.
How do you figure that out? What's first?
So let's, who doesn't have a little bit of forgetfulness? You don't?
No, you don't.
Oh, wow. Everyone.
We got two people.
Yes.
And Sharon, put your hand down.
Everyone go to this gentleman and Sharon in the back, all right? They don't have any forgetfulness, right? Exactly. No, I did not ask any. Yeah. Okay. So how do I know if this is dementia or not? Well, how do I know if I'm crazy? Okay, here's how. So dementia is a mental disorder or a symptom of many different kinds of mental disorders. Okay. Now, so how do we know if this is dementia? Because I literally found my found my car keys this morning in the fridge. And apparently someone, not me, even though I live alone, put that in my fridge, right? So how do I know if that's dementia or not? Well, whatever happened, these not normal kind of incidents, let's put it that way, incidents, do they affect your life significantly? Okay? So, for example, what does that mean? For example, well, I want to drive, and I'm gonna drive even though I can't. The moment I pull my car out of my garage, I cannot remember where the hell I'm going, right? And then on my way out, I hit 3 lampposts, and then I knocked down another 3 those mailboxes, right? So is that considered affecting my life? Yes, it is. Okay. However, how about this? Well, I have this forgetfulness. Oh, Stephanie, this is my good friend. We've been friends for like a lifetime. Oh God, I'm drawing blank. I cannot remember. Okay, thank you. So now, do we have that kind of moment? Yes, that is called the TOT, tip of tongue. TOT. Okay, TOT or any forgetfulness along that way, it is not considered dementia. Okay, because
Everybody breathe a sigh of relief.
because it does not significantly affect my life. Right? Okay, but when something actually significantly affects your life, then you need to get that checked with your doctor. Now, let me say this one last thing, okay? I mentioned earlier, dementia is not a mental disorder. Dementia is actually a symptom of many different kinds of mental disorders. Okay? Let me explain. Let's say, what kind of dementia have you heard of? Alzheimer's, great. Parkinson's, good. Frontotemporal, good. Vascular, good. Lewy body, anyone? Okay. So there are in fact more than 200 different forms of dementia. In other words, more than 200 different kinds of diseases that would result in this very symptom, dementia. Okay? So in other words, dementia is not one single disease. There are many, over 200 different kinds of diseases that will lead you to this unfortunate destination, and that is dementia. Okay? But why do we want to know that? Why do I want to know 200 different kinds of diseases? Because every dementia, every form of dementia, you have a different way, different treatment, different regimen to deal with. Okay? And you have to have the right kind of medication for this particular kind of dementia in order to get that thing under control. Okay?
So how do you go about finding out? What's the best first step to take?
You're gonna need to talk to your doctor. Yeah. So that's the only one way to talk to your doctor. And I mentioned the Lewy body earlier, right? So that recently, in the past few years, Lewy body, we start to realize that it is actually a very common form of dementia. We did not know about that until probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. So Lewy body dementia is actually considered the third most common dementia in the United States. Okay, what is the first one? Alzheimer's. Second one? Strokes. That's a cardiovascular stroke dementia. Okay. The third one is Lewy body. So the reason why I mentioned this because Lewy body is often misdiagnosed as dementia. As Parkinson's. And Lewy body and Parkinson's, there are two different forms of dementia, different drugs. Okay. And also Parkinson's, it causes your tremors, the movement issues and all of that, right? Lewy body, same thing. It does that at the early stage of the disease, but later on, your Lewy body is gonna become even worse than Parkinson's. And this is how it got worse because Lewy body dementia patients, a lot of times they would have a hallucination. They would see weird bugs. They would see little people like running around, and then they would. And that's not the worst part. The worst part is that Lewy body dementia patients, a lot of times they have very, very, very vivid dreams. And then those dreams, they are usually with violent, bloody thing. So, and
you are scaring me.
Yeah, I told you I'm gonna make you depressed first. So, and then if they have this bloody, violent thing in their dream, what do? They react to it. There's been cases in America that the husband wakes up, wife is dead in a puddle of blood, didn't know what happened. And the reason is that the husband actually had Lewy body dementia and did not know about it. And then he got really violent, and then he actually killed his wife during their sleep. But guess what? Lewy body patients, they do not remember anything happened during their sleep. So that is why you need to actually check with your doctor to get tested. Because if you don't, can you imagine that you thought it's Parkinson's and in fact it's Lewy body, right?
Yeah. So is that all? That's all like. Is that considered mental illness?
Yes, it is mental disorder.
Okay.
Yes.
So, so you said talk to your doctor first, okay? And Emily, I know I asked you before about where do you start at, and you said primary care.
Yeah, so you would start with your primary care physician. Yes, ma'am.
How can you tell a schizophrenic from someone that had what you were talking about? Seeing low people and
yeah, well, you can't because basically that's the same thing. Hallucination, that's the same thing. Okay, so you can't. You are gonna have to go to the doctor, go to your psychiatrist.
So if the doctor says they're schizophrenic instead of
Lewy body, yes.
So So one of the things, so you talked about going to your primary care doctor. Okay, I will say, are all primary care doctors created equal?
I would say no.
Are there primary care doctors that specialize in working with older patients that are geriatric care doctors?
Yes. So I think if you're concerned that, depending on what type of mental health you are looking at, that you're concerned, that you're struggling with, I think that kind of depends on where you go. So if you feel like, oh, I have all these Alzheimer's symptoms, dementia symptoms, maybe a gerontologist would be best. But if you feel like you are really having a hard time with your grieving process, you're having bouts of anger and depression, it may be just as simple as talking to your regular primary care physician. I will tell you that several years ago I went through a bout of depression after losing a child. And so I have been off and on of antidepressants. And it's just like going to the doctor when you need it, is all. You just need to take care of yourself. If you are having trouble coping, it's okay to medicate.
Okay. So I was asking about the gerontologist. What is the right term for like primary care doctor?
Geriatrics.
Geriatrics. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they on every corner? I mean, where are these people? And how do you? I mean, getting an appointment to see anybody right now, right?
Yeah. So in order to see a doctor for your old age, you got to start when you're young. That's
Too late.
Actually, that is what I've heard from other people in this business, is that they start their relationship when they're young, seeing that so that they will be able to maintain that relationship.
Yes, and then big lesson that I learned: don't ever find an old doctor. No, because they retire, they die, they whatever before you are dead. No, then you gotta find another new doctor. So always find young doctors. Okay, so they can take care of you. So WashU, Barnes, SLU Hospital, Mercy, they all have very good geriatric doctors. Okay, so I'd say if you don't have one, you only have a primary that is not specifically for geriatrics or gerontology, then ask your doctor to refer you to a geriatric doctor, okay? And then it would be better if they are within the same system, so Barnes, WashU system or SLU system, St. Mary's system, whatever. It would be better if they are all within the same system. So in fact, St. Louis is a very, very well-known city that actually has a lot of geriatric experts in town. Okay, so we have for example, SLU Hospital, St. Louis U. They have these very, very well-known two geriatric doctors, and one that his name was John Morley, and John's already retired, and now he is somewhere in Florida. And so John is a worldly renowned doctor, but unfortunately he's not in town anymore. And then we have another one, but don't try to get this one. He is way too famous. His name is George Grossberg, and Dr. Grossberg. If you don't know the name, you might know what his family did. Have you heard of the nursing home chain? It's called Delmar Gardens. Okay, Grossberg family. Grossberg's mother actually founded the entire Delmar Gardens.
But these people aren't available.
Well, no. However,
we want to know where you find these other people that could be available.
so Dr. Morley and Dr. Grossberg, they actually trained a lot of excellent doctors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the Geriatric Institute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Geriatric Institute at SLU
Mhm.
is one of the
Yes,
places.
and then WashU has a lot of very, very good geriatric doctors as well. Okay.
You gotta cross over that bridge,
Mhm.
go over the river.
We get involved with one of those agencies, and then for me.
Yes. So, I forgot what I was gonna say there. We were talking about getting a diagnosis. Thank you guys for laughing at that. Yes, tip of the tongue only, tip of the tongue. So, let's talk about the difference between psychologist, psychiatrist, counselors. Can you give us a brief rundown of if the first step is to seeing a doctor?
Sure. So, well, when you have depression, who do you go see? Counselor, therapist? Is that right? No, you don't do that. Okay, that is actually not a correct way to do it. As a clinician, well, I don't see any patients anymore. I used to. Okay, I do not see any patients anymore. So you have to go to a psychiatrist first. Okay, you want to get certain diagnoses because all the mental disorders, it could result from, a lot of them actually, not all, a lot of them actually result from you have chemical imbalance. Okay? Therefore, if that imbalance is there and you don't get your chemical imbalance treated, and then you just go ahead, find a counselor, find a therapist just to talk, and you don't take any treatment, you don't have any regimen, any drugs and whatnot.
So no real
No.
medical.
Yes. So that your imbalance is never treated. So your counseling, it's never gonna work. Okay. Now, do you go to your psychiatrist to have a long session to talk it out? No, you don't.
Well, they're not going to allow that.
No.
They're super hard to get into.
Yes, you go there, they spend 15 minutes with you, if you're lucky, and then get your diagnosis, and then give you drugs, and you're on your way, right? And now, with that, then with their recommendations or with their referrals, then you go to a counselor, a therapist, to talk it out, right? Now, when I used to practice, my patient comes in, and then I look at their chart, their medical history. If I see their diagnoses, and if I ask them, they don't take any medications for it, then usually I don't see the patients. I just refuse to see the patients because it is a waste of their time. It is a waste of my time just to talk it out. Okay? So go.
So you want to you're saying give a diagnosis first, which there may be.
Mm-hmm.
They may just say there's really nothing.
Yeah. Then if there's nothing,
You're
then
lonely, or
then you don't have to. You don't come talk to me. You come talk to your friends.
Okay, so you can see a psychiatrist and basically get kind of a clean mental bill of health per se. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So,
Mhm.
all right. So that's good to know. So Emily, you got a comment on that about yeah, and how easy are these to find? Getting into a psychiatrist, and what are the ways that you can see them?
Yeah, getting into a psychiatrist, of course, is just like any doctor's appointment, but it is definitely the right place to start. And then you can see, and once you have a diagnosis, you can see a counselor, and they can more personalize your care and your counseling moving forward to walk you through that journey and really help you make some progress to acceptance and to peace.
Okay. So, again, is there, I mean, I think that it's difficult to get it, there's psychiatrists, are there psychiatrists that specialize in
Yes.
working with older people?
Yes, there is. There is. But it doesn't have to take a specific psychiatrist, a geropsych, that's what we call, right? Geropsych, that's a psychiatrist for particularly older adults. It doesn't necessarily have to take a geropsych in order to get a diagnosis of depression or Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So you can go to just any psychiatrist. And then, of course, if you are not sure about their diagnosis, you always, can go get a second opinion, right? So now, that said, what is dementia though? Because earlier I said dementia is not just about sad. I'm not sad, therefore that cannot be depression. I'm sorry. I'm not sad. Therefore, that cannot be depression, right? Well, that's correct. I'm not sad, but that is not correct. It could be still depression, okay? Depression is not about sad or not, unhappy or not. Depression is about a lot of other things, okay? Confusion, that could be part of depression. Disorientation, that could be part of depression, and explosiveness. I'm just so pissed off. I'm just irritated. That could be part of depression too. Okay?
Okay, so if you find that you are easily irritated, that might actually be your depression, and that's showing up because it's not about sadness. It's more about irregularity in the mind. Yes. So
That's a good way of,
that's a great way to put it. So now, but when an older adult, and I'm gonna say especially older adult, okay? When an older adult, and for this particular symptom I'm gonna talk about, it is more for ladies, okay? And not guys have that too, but not as frequent. So for an older adult, especially for ladies, if you see this very last night Grandma Susan went to bed. She was still her kind and generous self. She was smiling. She was Grandma Susan. And then this morning, Grandma Susan, got up. Grandma Susan all of a sudden became Godzilla, right? And it is explosiveness. It is pissing off, and Grandma Susan is swearing like a sailor, right? So overnight, it just happened. Well, that gotta be nervous breakdown. Well, that gotta be anxiety attack. Well, that gotta be bipolar. Is that right? No, it is not right. Bipolar, it does not happen like that. It does not happen overnight. When you see an older adult, especially a lady, when you see that kind of overnight drastic emotional change, a lot of times it is UTI. Okay? What is UTI? Yes. Okay. Good. Now you know why I say ladies, right? Okay. Because our physical, making is different. Yeah. So a lot of times it is UTI, and UTI will create that kind of a delirium-like kind of symptoms. So, but UTI is not psych. UTI is actually medical. So if you then have Grandma Susan go to send her to the hospital and then antibiotics for 3 days, she's good as new. Okay? So when there is this kind of overnight drastic change, mental status change, very significant. Your first thing is not, oh wow, Grandma Susan is crazy now. No, it is not. Just check on UTI first.
Yep. Experienced that with my mom. So transparency, my mom has had a history of depression, has seen a psychiatrist from, getting prescriptions. Her psychiatrist then, when trying to get in, this was kind of the downward spiral from where I could tell it started. She tried to get her an appointment with her psychiatrist that had been prescribing her, and they weren't returning her phone calls, and she couldn't get a hold of them, and she didn't know what to do. Okay, so she then talks to me about her frustration, and finally she gets a letter in the mail that says the psychiatrist has closed their practice. Boom, that's it. Nothing like somebody's taking over, here's some alternatives, or anything like that. So we have to go out and find a new one, okay? My mom's prescriptions have expired. I'm trying to get into a new psychiatrist to get this rebooted, okay? How many months out are we? Okay, in the meantime, we're seeing other things going on, and I'm like, is it the mental affecting the physical? Is she's depressed, and then she's not moving around, and then she's getting weaker? What is going on? My dad's always said my mom's, she's crazy, okay? And one of the several times she actually has had a UTI. Okay, that's exacerbated this whole thing, okay? I went to her with this psychiatrist who wasn't actually the psychiatrist. It was, nurse practitioner type person, which is probably okay, but didn't get the idea that they had a good deal with issues that, seniors typically deal with that my mom might be experiencing. Then they have this portal they want you to use. And then places want to do this telehealth stuff. All right, my mom's 82 years old, and she's not really, great with technology. She has not embraced it. And she's like, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do this thing on a screen. I want to go in and see somebody, okay? So the telehealth thing is like a really big thing that I see that people who don't know how to use that or don't choose to use it have trouble getting into doctors. Emily, we talked a little bit about the in-person and telehealth, so can you speak about that and group and individual therapy?
So I think that if you can get in person, I would definitely push for that. And the reason that I would recommend that, I'm sure that Chin can agree, is that 90% of communication is nonverbal. So you are going to get your biggest bang for your buck if you do in person, because your clinician that you're working with is going to be evaluating everything about you. If you do a telehealth, they can hear what you're saying and look at your chart, but it's not the same as being with you in the same room and seeing the way you're fidgeting. Do you have tremors? Where are you looking with your eyes? There's certain things that as clinicians we're looking for in an in-person consult to see what part of your brain is affecting your behavior. So definitely, it's going to be a little bit further of a wait, but I will empower you to push for in-person consults when it comes to your mental health, because we want to see everything about you, not just how you look on paper, not just your face on a screen. And while telehealth is good for, follow-up counseling, but if for that initial psychiatrist visit, for that initial, you're meeting your counselor for the first time, I would definitely emphasize that in person is better. if you do have a counselor and you guys have already built a relationship, you feel that she knows you really well, she's already done the in-person evaluation, telehealth is a good option. If you have grandkids that can help you with the portal, I think that's really nice too. I'd probably rope my teenager into helping you if you need, you know. So definitely, I think that's a good option.
We're just talking about, you want to talk about the different, like group therapy, individual therapy, you both can speak about that.
So you've got some options in the community of different types of counseling and therapy. So there is different group therapies depending on what you're looking for. So Assistance Home Care offers an Alzheimer's dementia group therapy. There's different aging ahead places that offer group therapies if you're a caregiver and just need to find your people in a way. There's also intensive outpatient therapy that's offered through Compass Health. I want to say Centerpoint. No, not Centerpoint. Centerpoint Hospital. You can call their scheduling line. They do book about 2 weeks out, but if you do feel like you need something a little bit more immediately while you're waiting for a psychiatrist, those hospitals do have those services available. If you'd rather do individualized therapy after you get your psych diagnosis, you can also go through Mercy, SSM. There's a new place right over here on, like literally right up St. Peter's, the road right here.
Piper Hill?
Piper Hill, okay. And it's called Ellie Health. They also have an office in Winsville that's brand new. And they are another family-owned small business here, and they offer individual therapy to support you on your journey.
So my experience with my mom has been, she got to the point of twice saying she was suicidal, okay? What do? I can't leave her alone, you know, I'm calling and asking, you know, what do I do, where do I go for help? Well, the answer was, well, you gotta take her to the intake over at Mercy Hospital. I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be like solve a lot of problems here. She's gonna go in, she is gonna there's someone who's gonna be able to figure out what's going on. She's gonna get counseling. No. Okay, didn't happen. They basically are there to make sure that you don't harm yourself. And she was there with some other people of all ages and some other real characters. So what I found out from that experience was, wow, it didn't help at all. In fact, it seemed to hurt because she just wanted to get the heck out of there, but she hadn't gotten any help. And then she was embarrassed by the whole thing. And, they were supposed to offer therapy, but they really didn't. And then a psychiatrist came in and prescribed some different stuff that started following her wherever she went to rehab or whatnot because of the physical stuff. It was really, really difficult. And, figuring out the meds, who prescribed what and why. Why is she on this particular, why is it now she's getting it 2 times a day? Who did that? It's been really a difficult process, but so that's a pretty extreme example that, when somebody gets to the point that they're suicidal, what do you do? And that's what I did. And then when it happened again, it was, we're just going to stay with you 24/7 and get over and get over this hurdle and seek further medical help. Not check you into a hospital for that. So I'm sure there are really good experiences, but that wasn't a good experience for me and my mother in that particular incident. So I don't know. Center Point, that might be a place that would have been a better thing, but getting people, when you're talking to medical people about mental health things, it's hard to get the good resources, okay? And I think seeking them out in advance would have been very helpful in our situation in hindsight. But it seems like we're looking for needles in a haystack. I'm sorry, they say, oh, well, your in-home care nurse is going to come visit you in-home after your hospital visit. They'll have somebody that they can refer you to, okay? Proceed on that basis. You ask them, no, we don't do mental health. Who does mental health? I don't know. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I heard there was urgent care for mental health situations in DePaul, Essex and DePaul.
There's a lot of hospitals actually do have a psych ER. That is what we usually call psych ER. And then, so yes, they do have that. However, just like your regular emergency room, right? Why do you go to an emergency room? Because there is something urgent that happened, right? So unless it is a very extreme case, then I would not say, go to the ER, go to the psych ER, right? So, and like what Stephanie just described, and which, by the way, you actually did everything right with your mother, okay? It's not a pleasant experience, of course not, because when someone has suicidal ideation, what they want to do, they want to kill themselves, and that cannot be pleasant for us to deal with, right? The caregivers. So then, yeah, if it's to that extreme, sure, you have to send them to psych ER, and then for them to get evaluated, for them to get on 24/7, and then psychiatrist is gonna come in and prescribe some really emergency medications to relieve the symptoms, to actually make you not think about killing yourself, right? Yes.
I went to an in-service once about suicide, and we were told that there are different, if somebody says, I want to kill myself, the question to ask is, how are you going to do it? And if they don't have a plan, they're just maybe venting rather than, if you say, well, I'm going to take my gun out that's out in the street, in the garage, and then I'm going to do it. But otherwise, it's maybe a call for help.
That's
So I would urge you to have a follow-up question. So instead of one question, ask two. If someone says to you, oh, I'm just going to kill myself. Two questions. One, you're right, is do you have a plan? Do they actually have a plan? Is this something that they've thought through? And two, do they have the means? So is this someone who has weapons in the home? Is this someone that actively has the things in their trunk, or you already know is going to said places? So I think that that's an excellent point, because sometimes people do just say that, especially younger people. They think it's funny for whatever reason. And so making sure that we ask those questions and take it seriously. Now, if someone does have a plan and they're very serious about it, that would be the time that you would go to like a psych ER. So there's one on the DePaul campus. There's one in Winsville. It's behind the crisis nursery. I think Mercy just built one as well.
Yeah.
Is that Highway K?
Yeah. I don't remember. Yes, but I think it's the south.
Okay.
So, but let me finish this part. Okay. So, yes, that's you want to follow up with a lot of questions. What is your plan, and all of those good questions, right? Now here's the thing. If I say I'm gonna kill myself, guess what? First of all, I'm not gonna say that to you. I'm just gonna do it. So you will not even have a chance to know that I'm thinking to kill myself. Okay? So therefore, yes, when someone gives you that kind of a message, that kind of signal, that might be, them crying for help. Sure, of course, and then follow up with a lot of these questions and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, though, you also want to make sure you are asking the right questions. Okay? I had a coworker, a psychiatrist, a therapist. So he said that he had this patient. The patient said that he wanted to kill himself. So my colleague goes, well, so what is your plan to harm yourself? Do you want to hurt yourself? How you're gonna hurt yourself? All of those questions, right? Did you notice my colleague did not use the word kill because he was trying to be gentle. So he did not say, how are you gonna kill yourself? No, he did not say that. He used the term hurt. He used the term harm. Okay? Not right. So it turned out that guy actually killed himself, but he did not harm himself. He actually killed himself. Okay? So when he answered those questions, when the patient answered those questions, do you want to harm yourself? No, I don't want to harm myself. Do you want to hurt yourself? No, I have no plan hurting myself. Because my plan is actually to kill myself. Okay? So you can try that when looking in the mirror. It is a very, very difficult question for that to come out of your mouth. How do you think about killing yourself? How do you want to implement it? How do you want to kill yourself? It is very difficult for you to say that. Okay? Yes.
I have two friends, different situations. One went to DePaul, one went to Mercy, and they were told the relatives had aged out of those systems and they were funneled to St. Mary's. So what did they do wrong? I mean, one was transported, well, both were transported by ambulance from their homes and taken to the two different locations. But by the next morning, they had been transported to St. Mary's, which their family members didn't even know where it was. And then both of them had no contact with the doctors. So how could they have handled that differently?
So they went by ambulance because there were some mental struggles going on?
Yes.
Okay. And the places that they went to, they were too
Old. They were told that DePaul ages out at 60. Because up until then, that is where this woman had been sent, and now she's over 60.
So Centerpoint has, I'm gonna say this, they have what they call a silver lining program. However, I've called several times and never been able to get anybody to call me back because I thought that would be the answer. So,
You mentioned Centerpoint, is that the one down in Weldon Springs?
yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
had thought that was for youth. I thought that was for children,
I
wasn't it?
think it's both.
Because I drive a school bus down in that area, and I know parts of that down there was for students that were having problems.
But they do have the silver lining program. If anybody knows anything about it, been through it or anything, or has somebody, just know anything about it, would be helpful. But again, getting people in places that are understaffed, and it's difficult to get information. The Mercy thing, they did not have any age thing. But like I said, my mom was put in with people of every age, and I didn't see anything necessarily wrong with that. But the majority of the people there did not want to engage in any type of group counseling, which is all that they offered. So there was no benefit to it.
Most individualized counseling is done on an outpatient basis, which is why I brought up the intensive outpatient counseling as a better option. It's something that's more one-on-one that those hospitals do offer, and it's also a better option than going to the urgent care, because that's what's they'll put you in an inpatient, which may have a lot of younger confused people with not great ideas. And they do have, some hospitals do have inpatient geriatric psych floors. So when I worked at Big Barns downtown, they do have a geriatric psych floor. And then also St. Joseph in Wentzville has a geriatric psych floor. Now those two hospitals do take patients from all over Missouri and Illinois, so a lot of times they are transported from far away to those inpatient facilities to receive that urgent care that they need. But this is kind of things that we hope that you don't have to do, but they are actually available in St. Louis. I would think that for your mom, the intensive outpatient would be the best option because it would be individualized. And when I called Compass Health, they said that they schedule out for, it's about 2 weeks.
It's not too bad. But
No.
when you're in a crisis situation.
In a crisis, it's, you know, the nurses at the psych ERs are able to give you the medication that you need to kind of keep the crisis and calm down.
Yeah. So I know with, in dealing with my mom, she's not mobile anymore. She doesn't get around on her own. So then there's the whole mobility issue of getting to and from, which just adds another layer of complexity there. But so any last comments or anything that you want to share is important for our audience to know?
Yeah, I think good mental health is very important, and I think that there are definitely some ways that you can just generally promote good health, whether you have a mental health issue or not, or you want to maintain having a good health. One of the major reasons that people have mental health issues from a medical standpoint is low dopamine. So what you want to do is the opposite of that. You want to increase your endorphins. So I'm sure that you've heard this before, but the number one thing to do is to exercise. That's right. She said it right, designed it. Thank you. Get active. So get outside, get moving, do something fun, do something that makes you laugh. These types of activities are going to increase the amount of endorphins that are created in your mind, and that gives you that chemical happy feeling. It fights away depression, anxiety, things like that that can ultimately cause other physical issues. Go for a power walk, swimming, dancing, hiking. Another thing that releases endorphins, which I thought was personally great, is eating a piece of dark chocolate. Surprise! Don't you love dark chocolate? Thumbs up, that's right. Create something with artistically. Do something bright and colorful, something that makes you feel happy. Listen to your favorite song. So as you know, when you work with Alzheimer's patients, the new thing is music therapy. It helps releases those endorphins in the mind, again, because it interacts those low dopamine and increases the endorphin, the happy chemical, a happy feeling. That's what we want. Acupuncture was one I found online. I've never tried it. I don't know. Yeah? Okay. Did say yes? Meditation from your yoga guy over here. Getting a massage, aromatherapy, watching a TV show, and then another one that I found online, and I thought this was kind of interesting, is to volunteer in an organization. So if you feel like you want to give back, find something that you connect with, that you relate to, and be a volunteer. It doesn't matter. There's babies in the NICU that just need to be held. You can go hold babies all day.
That's what Sharon wants to do.
Yeah, okay.
She said, yeah.
That's why I did it in clinical for nursing school. I was like, I'll be in the nursery, bye. Do I work with kids now? No.
I've actually tried
Yeah?
to get signed up, and I haven't been able to. I would love to go sit around babies. I think it's the coolest thing possible.
So what, there's a waiting list for people to do it?
No, they just never, I mean, I applied in Mercy, MOBAP, and they've never, and this was over a year ago, and they've never responded.
Since
back.
COVID, they've been very protective of their babies.
Oh,
So you're bringing something into their hospital that they don't
Well,
want those babies.
my clinicals were in 2013, way pre-COVID.
COVID changed.
That was a while ago, and I went to Cardinal once. I was down by SLU, where those babies are really sick and their moms are nowhere to be seen, I'll tell you what. But we have volunteer opportunities at hospice if that's something that you relate to, a volunteer program. So if you have a company that you particularly like, you can volunteer with them, and they should have a coordinator. I'm trying to think of other opportunities.
Well, volunteer for me, for my organization, that's another opportunity. Yeah. So all Emily just said, it was all good. Now, here's another piece of information before I let you go, okay? I talked about 200 different kind of forms of dementia, right? Any one of them, it is treatable. Any one of them, it can be reversed. Any? No, there's none. Can you stop dementia? If you cannot get that treated, can you stop dementia? Can you slow down the process? Yes, you can. Okay? Now, all the things that were just mentioned, that was one thing that was the options to actually slow down the dementia process. That being said, we usually hear, how about learning those board games, right? It keeps your mind sharp, and then you are not gonna get dementia if you play board games. True or not? No, it's not true. Okay, it's not about to play those games. It is about to learn new things, to stimulate your brain. Okay, so my New Year resolution every year, I want to learn something new next year. New stimulation, new excitement that's gonna keep your mind, keep your body, keep your brain fresh, so that you have less chance to get dementia. Okay?
Well, thank you for that. So, I'm an education nerd, so maybe that bodes well for me with keeping my brain working. So, thank you guys for being here. Can I get a round of applause? There's information more that they brought if you're interested in picking any of that up. Our next seminar is going to be on medications. It's Dr. Hedda Levy. She has a great, you guys, are you familiar with her?
Yeah.
Okay, so she does in-home medication reviews, and she's written a book, and she'll talk about all the different medications that aren't necessarily good for you, especially as you're aging. So, and how they conflict with each other. So, I'm looking very forward to that, and I hope you guys are interested in that. If so, you can certainly sign up. Otherwise, we'll be sending you out email invites. Thank you, everybody, again. Appreciate your time and attendance.